Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. Well, summer's here, and the time is right for a little more underwater exploration. So in today's clip, I'd like to do an unboxing and brief overview of a brand new submersible product called the Fifish P3 from our friends over at Qysea. Now, what an underwater robot like this allows you to do is to toss this submersible into any nearby lake or ocean or stream you happen to be near and explore that amazing and mysterious landscape underwater. And ever since I was a little kid, when we went to the bay or the ocean, I couldn't wait to pop on a set of goggles and a snorkel, dive into the water and get down to the bottom to see what's going on. And that's exactly what this product is designed to do. It's got an ultra high definition 4K camera on the front that'll allow you to capture amazing pictures and video. And it's got two high performance lights on either side of that camera on the front, 4,000 lumens that are bright enough to light up any dark corner in that lake you may be exploring. And I'm telling you, to put something like this down to the bottom of the lake and swim among the fish and the underwater vegetation and who knows what else is down there is just an incredibly cool experience. And as much as I love putting a drone up and looking at a landscape or a beach or a forest from 300 feet up, having one of these along with me to throw in that lake that I happen to be visiting and getting underwater and swimming among those fish is just such a cool experience. So what I'm going to do in the clip today is an unboxing of the product to show you exactly what comes when you purchase it, and then I'll go into a little bit of an overview of what are the components inside the box and how do they work with each other and how to use them. I promise you I will follow up with additional clips after this that do more of an overview of how the product works. I'll take it out and I'll swim with it. I'll show you how the software works and we'll take it from there. But today's clip's going to mostly be an unboxing and an overview. Now before we get into that, I have to tell you that this category of submersible is exploding. We went to CES a couple months back. There had to be 35 companies on the floor showing products like this. Qysea was one of the ones that we wanted to work with because as much as I'm interested in drones, I love swimming underwater with products like this as well. So we contacted a few of those companies, Qysea being one of them, and asked them, would you mind sending us some samples of your product? And I'd be happy to review them on the channel. So these guys were great. They sent us the product. I can't keep the product. I've got to send it back to them. But I promise you over the next couple of weeks, I'll be putting this thing through its paces so you understand exactly what this product can do and how it compares to other products on the market. So let's get into the unboxing. So for starters, the box itself, a very well built box, got a lot of specifications on the side, beautiful picture of the product on the front. There's more information on this side over here, but I know you want to see what the product looks like. So let me pop this guy open and see what we've got here. Let's get that out of the way. All right, so for starters, on the top, you've got a quick start guide that'll actually start off how you use the product and some basic instructions on how to charge it, how you connect up the remote controller. A little bit of foam up there. Let me get that out of the way. Then inside the box, we've got the submersible. Now here's the underwater robot, and it's got a beautiful green color to it. I mean, you can't miss that. When that's underwater and it's close to the surface, you're going to be able to see that very well. You've got the 4K camera up front. Again, it's an ultra high definition. That's a 1-inch sensor in there, which has got a 40 megapixel camera built into it. So not only is the sensor incredibly cool, but the processing power inside of this to handle that kind of video has been upgraded. So it's a very nice little setup. These are the two lights I referred to before. Again, they're 4,000 lumens between them. You have 8 levels of adjustment, so you can go from very dim to very bright underwater. What's nice about that is you can get it just to the right level where you're not scaring the fish away, but you can get some beautiful pictures of them or videos of them. So the product itself has got one vent up top here, which is, an impeller. This is basically for elevating it and sinking it in the water. And you've got 2 jets on the back, again, for propulsion, forward and backwards. You've got a connector on the top here, which is connecting to the tether. I'll show you that in a minute. That tether connects up to the remote control on shore. And you've got a little crosshatch pattern here, which is a lock for that tether, because the only thing connecting this to you on the shore is that long umbilical cable. So you want to make sure that you've got an additional anchor point over here that'll control that for you, so you don't lose this thing underwater. But man, oh man, is this thing cool. It's just built to be streamlined. I mean, it looks like a very advanced spaceship almost, and it's got a beautiful physique when it's cutting through the water. Very, very nice for trim. All right, so in addition to that, let's see what else we get in the box. All right, here's the remote control. Now, anybody that's flown a drone should recognize that. On the top of it, you've got an expandable holder there where you can put your tablet up top and connect up to the remote. You've got 2 joysticks and a whole lot of buttons, and I'll spend some more time going over that. You've got the umbilical cable that I talked about before. Now this is a heavy-duty cable. It floats for the most part, so it's basically buoyancy neutral, so it'll float at the surface until you dive, and then it'll be pulled down by the submersible. Here's a connector that connects up top here, and it's got a locking collar on it. There's also a grommet there to keep the water out. And then you've got the other end of connection here, and I'll show you blow-ups of these that connect up to the remote control. Then the last thing in the box is this box, which is a Sure power supply. Yep, that's what it is. So you've got the charging materials inside here. So you've got one charger for the remote. You've got another larger charger to charge the drone. This got a mating connector here. You plug it in the wall and charge it. Now the internal battery on this is about a 2-hour swim time, and that's there are 2 speeds to this, so depending on how fast, and if you're swimming against a current, you may have a little less swim time or a little more swim time depending on that, so your mileage will vary. But about 2 hours of internal charge. I haven't charged it fully yet. Again, I'm just doing the unboxing, but I will charge it and give you an idea how long it takes to charge the product, and then I'll test it to make sure I get a full 2 hours of it when I'm swimming in calm water, so I'm not, beating up too bad. In addition to that, I do want to give you some close-ups of these, so stay tuned and I'll actually do some close-ups and show you a little bit more about how these products work together. In this section, I'll take a little closer look at all of the items that are included with the Fifish submersible. We'll start with the Quick Start Guide, which is a great place to understand how the submersible operates and how all of these components work together. Inside this package, you'll find a really simple instruction manual with good diagrams to explain how to charge the unit, operate the unit, how to clean it after you've been swimming with it, what the remote control does, and all the other pertinent information you'll need to operate this thing safely. Next, I'll take a look at the submersible itself. Now, there's a few things I want to cover here. The first thing I'll start with are the propulsion systems. So you've got an impeller in the center, which is used to force water up and down to elevate and sink the underwater submersible when you're swimming it. You have 2 jets in the back. Now, these 2 back jets, again, are extremely powerful. They're protected so you can't get your fingers in there. And when you're done swimming for the day, you definitely want to check inside here and make sure that if you picked up any kind of underwater vegetation that you clear that out. But again, these impellers are going to force water either direction to move this forward or back in the water, and they're extremely powerful. You've got a connector on the top here, which is a 4-prong connector that's used for 2 things. It's used to connect up to the umbilical cable, and I'll show you that in a minute, which connects up to your remote control on shore. It's also the same connection you use for charging the submersible when you've got it out of the water. So the charger will fit there as well as the umbilical cord to operate this that connects the tether to the remote. You see a little crosshatch pattern right here, and I'll show you what that's for in a minute, but basically what that does is give you a second anchor point on the submersible for the tether cable so that if you have strain on the cable when it's in the water, you're not pulling against this connector and pulling the wires loose. Down the bottom here, you've got 5 indicators that show you how much charge is left in the actual submersible, and I'll show you how those work in a minute. On the front of the unit, you've got the camera in the center, and I'd mentioned before it's a 4K ultra high definition camera. It's a 1-inch sensor, which is a 40 megapixel camera, so it's really DSLR quality video and images underwater. You've got 2 lights on the outside. These are between them 4,000 lumens of power, and you've got 8 levels of adjustment on that, so you can start from very dim all the way up to very, very bright. And again, I've swam a lot with this. Having that adjustment is really nice because the light in the lakes and the oceans can vary quite a bit, and you don't want to have it too bright where you're scaring everything away from you. So being able to adjust through 8 layers of dimness or brightness is really a plus. Next thing I'd like to talk about is the auto leveling feature. This is a smart submersible, which means it can keep its depth in the water pretty consistent, and you can control that by the remote. But that's something that's different than a lot of the other submersibles. A lot of the ones that I've tested, you as an operator are pretty much responsible for what depth it stays at, and trying to keep that level can be a little bit tricky, so this has that built into it. All right, so let's take a look at the remote next. So here's the remote control. It's pretty straightforward. If you've ever flown a drone or any kind of remote control car, you're pretty familiar with the dual joystick setup. You've got a really nice tablet holder on the top, which goes fairly wide. Put a pretty good sized tablet in there. I've used this with an iPad mini 4. It fits in there perfectly. I've used it with various phones, so it's wide enough to cover that. In addition to that, you've got 2 joysticks and a bunch of buttons, and I'll do a separate video on that to show you exactly what all those buttons do. On the back, you've got speed control and a few other light adjustments on the back. On the front of this, you've got a hidden cover right here that if you pop that off, it's actually where you do your charging of this remote. So the power supply that comes with it here is used to connect up to this particular connection underneath, and you can charge this. So there are 2 different chargers. You've got one for the remote, and you've got a second one that's used for the submersible, and it's got a standard plug. Now I'm in the US, so I've got a US plug, but it'll be country specific. And this plugs into that 4-prong above it. You plug it into the wall and you can charge this thing. You get about 2 hours of use out of this under normal conditions. If you're swimming in high currents or you're swimming against the tide or it's been kind of rough underwater with currents, you may get less out of it. If it's calm, you'll get 2 hours and maybe a little bit more. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is the umbilical cable that connects the two together. This is a Fifish cable. The cable itself is a non-tangling cable. It's a very flexible cable, so when you wrap this thing up, you don't have to worry about getting knots in it and things like that. It also clears itself up when it's out in the water, so if you're swimming in circles, it'll eventually work itself out where you're not going to have a kinked cable out in the water. Now there's two ends to this cable. Let me give it a little more strain here. You got two ends to the cable. This end has a standard 3.5 millimeter jack on it, and that connects up to the back of your remote controller right here. You make that connection. This one is used on the submersible. Now, there was a crosshatch pattern on the back that I talked about a minute ago, and that's used for the strain relief. So when you connect this guy up, you're going to put this in that hole, and you're going to twist it. You push down and twist it, and that'll lock it. So push down a quarter turn, twist it, and it's locked in there. And you twist it again to pull it out. So lock it and unlock it that way. Once it's locked in, then you make the connection to the submersible with this other one. Now, if you want to check the battery level on this, there is no button because this thing's sealed. The way you would check that is just connect up this cable to the submersible. Once you do that, it'll go, once I twist it down, you'll hear it go through a power on self test. And you see there are two lights on, which means I've got 2 out of 5 lights, which means I've got a very low charge in this because I was playing with it this afternoon. So I'll charge this thing up later, but that's how you test to see how much battery power is left in the submersible. And that's pretty much it. So once you make the connection here and tighten this down good and tight, make the connection to the remote, fire up the application, drop this in the water, and you're off and swimming. That's all I have for today, so thanks an awful lot for watching. And if you have any questions on anything I've covered today, please drop them in the comments below, and I promise to get back to you as quickly as I can. I also have a link below where you can find the Fifish P3 on their website, so you can check out the specifications and see if this submersible might be right for you. Now, I promise I've got other clips coming that go into greater detail on how to use the remote, how to connect up the system. I've got a video on maintenance coming, and I've taken this thing out in the wild and swam it in lakes and streams and oceans, and I want to show those clips to you as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider hitting the subscribe button down there in that corner and join the Drone Valley family because we've got a lot more good content coming this summer. So that's pretty much it. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy flying.